Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Aurelius. Now on January 28th, 2022, Game Freak released what I would describe as their most ambitious Pokemon title released to date. Prior to this coming out, there was a lot of hype behind the Pokemon games, and I mean a lot. Every person I know in the Pokemon community was basically counting down to this game, discussing leaks, arguing about things getting spoiled. Basically felt like how you would feel for the Marvel Cinematic Universe releasing their latest movie. And once the game came out, the content became endless. I, along with many others, basically sat down and threw everything in life away in order to play this game. I laughed, I cried, I got frustrated, I complained, and I have a lot of thoughts on this game. So in this video, I will review Pokemon Legends Arceus and tell you once and for all, is this game worth it? I will discuss a number of categories that I think go into making a Pokemon game good and give it a rating out of 3 stars. Because who doesn't like stars? Game Freak seems to like them. In each category, 1 star means bad, 2 stars means meh, and 3 stars means excellent. I'll have 3 categories: mechanics, storyline, and gameplay, with the main elements of the game within those categories getting the points. Let's get started. Now there are 2 elements to the mechanics that I want to review: the catching mechanics and the battling mechanics. The catching mechanics in Pokemon Legends Arceus is by far the best any Pokemon game has ever had. Prior to this game, in every other game, you would have to engage into a battle before you can throw a Pokeball at it, and then it would take a very long time in order for you to catch the actual Pokemon. What happens in this game? You literally just throw the ball, and then there you go. There are different types of Pokeballs with different catch rates as well, and that's always been a part of the Pokemon world, and I personally like that. The better your Pokeball is, the more opportunity you have to catch a Pokemon. Until you get up to a certain level for your character, Pokemon remain a bit difficult to catch depending on their level and depending on the catch rate that's set for the Pokemon. And I personally am a very big fan of this mechanic. Every Pokemon doesn't come easy. Basically, the better the Pokemon, the harder it is to get, the more you have to work for it. And I love that. But the main thing that I take out of this is catching Pokemon has never been quicker, and it should not change. This should always be the case. If there are Pokemon in the overworld, you shouldn't have to engage into battle with them before you catch them. So, this gets a 3 stars. The battling mechanics in this game, I think, is kind of outdated at this point. In an open world Pokemon game, where you can basically move around very freely, control the camera and everything, you shouldn't really have to have a turn-based battle mechanic. I know this is what Pokemon has done all the time, but I think it's time for a change. There is one other Pokemon game that I think has the perfect battling mechanics. That's Pokemon Unite. In Pokemon Unite, you already have 4 moves, but you can use them at any point. But after certain moves, you have to wait for a timer to go down before you can use the move again, and that timer is highly based on how powerful the Pokemon's move is. In Pokemon Legends Arceus, you go back to that old style. You put a Pokemon out into battle, and then you have to wait for turns. Yeah, they use Agile Style and Strong Style in order to mitigate that, the amount of times you have to wait, or the amount of times that you get to attack, but in the end of the day, in a free-flowing Pokemon game, the one thing that constricts you is that battling style. And I think that needs to change and become something more like Pokemon Unite. So, for this case, unfortunately for battling mechanics, I would give it a 1 star. The next category that I'm going to be reviewing is the storyline, and there are 3 elements: the main story, the side quests, and the characters. So, let's see how this goes. The main story of Pokemon Legends Arceus was intriguing, to say the least. To start it off, you are someone who fell into their world from another dimension where everything works differently. a more advanced place, you could say. But this game, I don't think really explores that all too well. There is someone who fell out of time, but for some reason doesn't really feel that much out of time. They do feel a little bit alienated with certain aspects of the story, with certain things happening to them, and certain accusations being put on them. But in the end of the day, that entire element of being a person that's out of time in the wrong time of history just feels like it wasn't there. But in the meantime, other aspects of the story were great. Not going that much into spoilers, but I personally really liked one part of the story after a boss battle where you connect with one of the NPCs. In fact, I ended up falling in love with that NPC. And then the end of the game was also really good. You had to make some big choices, one of those choices which ended up making me bloody crying. A lot of exploration going on, a lot of battles going on, a lot of critical thinking going on, a lot of strategizing going on, a lot of patience going on. The end of the story was really good, and I know in any normal story, it kind of starts off really slow, it builds up, there's a climax and there's a conclusion. That's a good story to follow, but just the climax and conclusion being good doesn't mean everything else has to be bad. Everything else also has to be coherent. And I do think a coherent story was very lacking in this game. Very interesting premise, but very poorly executed. So, I would have to give the main story a meh 2 stars. Side quests. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't do that many side quests while I was playing the game. I did a couple, and I had a lot of fun doing all of those couple of side quests. I did one side quest where I had to bring a Caterpie to the bloke and then choose its name, and I love choosing names for things. I did another story where I had to find this one bloke lost in the middle of a snowstorm or something. I don't know what's going on, but the main point was I had to go find someone. And I personally consider this a side quest while doing the story mode. Even though it's not written as a side quest, it is something you're expected to do. It's just exploring, finding new places, finding new Pokemon in those places, going into Pokemon outbreaks, meeting new characters, setting up new camps. Even though those aren't exact side quests, I had more fun doing those things in the middle of the main story. So, side quest, that gets 3 stars. Now just straight off the bat, I will say this, I really liked the characters in this game. These characters were mostly a callback to all the characters in the Diamond and Pearl series. For example, Akari with Dawn, Ray with Lucas, Kamado with Rowan, Silene with Cyrus, that stuff. And I think all of those characters were actually really good. But the 2 main characters that I ended up really liking were Adaman and Irida. Irida, I don't know, I say Irida. Those 2 characters specifically represent the Diamond and Pearl aspect of the Sinnoh region. Sorry if that was too much spoilers, I'm not going to go into it any further. But, to say the least, I ended up really liking the characters. I ended up falling in love and wanting to marry Irida. And I wanted Adaman to be my best man at that wedding. And if you play the game, you would know the decision I had to make. And why that left me in tears. So the characters get 3 stars. The next category I'm going to be reviewing is gameplay. And I think 4 elements go into making gameplay good in a Pokemon game. Those 4 elements are music, control, dialogue, and the actual Pokemon themselves. So, let's get started. Usually in Pokemon games, when it comes to the music, every single time you go into a new area, the first thing that you notice about the area is the music. Some of my all-time favorite gaming tracks come from Pokemon games. For example, the Pokemon League theme from Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, the Lake theme from Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Cynthia's themes, both of them, both before the battle and during the battle from Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and even Red's theme. And fun fact, I made a cover of Red's theme as the first video on my channel. Here it is. Go check it out if you want. It is a very short video. I was having a phase where I wanted to make music, but no one seemed to care. But anyways, in Pokemon Legends Arceus, I honestly think this was an aspect of the game that was missing. I only paid attention to the music 2 times probably during the entire game. Once was when I went to that little area and then the Eterna Forest music started playing. Okay, so I have to go back over there. This is the Eterna... Where am I? Is this where Eterna Forest usually is? I think this is where Eterna Forest is. The other one wasn't on stream, but it's where you get all those hippo downs during the afternoon. That music also struck out to me. The battle themes, the legendary themes and all that, I would say were good. They're not really any different from any other Pokemon game. They're really high tempo, they get you pumped up and everything to battle. So, I don't think it was that bad. But unlike other Pokemon games, I don't think it was mind-bogglingly good. So music, it's a meh 2 stars. Controls. I'm just going to go straight off the bat and say the controls for this game really annoyed me. Usually in Pokemon games, controls are very simple. I'm also going to go as far as to compare this to other games as well. First game I'm going to compare it to is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, a game that highly inspired this Pokemon game. In that game, yes, there's a lot of things you can do, but the controls are really easy and you can figure stuff out really easily. You don't continuously press this and that, trying to figure out which menu to go to and whatnot, and everything just flows. And even if you go outside of the Nintendo Switch titles, in any other open world game, for example Skyrim, for example Borderlands, all of that stuff, the controls are very understandable. They are not complicated. There might be a lot of controls to remember, but they're not complicated. But in this game, there's just so much going on. There's like 3 or 4 different menus. You have a whole different menu for the Pokédex. You have a whole different menu for the map. You have a whole different menu where you can see the items saved, connect to the internet, and whatever else. Like my question is, why couldn't all of those have been in the same menu and you have other buttons to do other things? For example, you could have used those other buttons so you can use move. And don't even get me started for when you go into battle. When you go into battle, it should be really, really simple. You select a menu for what you want to do, and then you do that. In this one, if you press A on something, it does one thing, and then you have to press X to swap menus and all that, and then you have to go up, down, left, right, like... It is, in my opinion, very complicated. And they could have done so much to make it less complicated. And then on top of that, another big complaint I have where I did not know where else to put it is the response of the controls. Specifically, the dodging. When I did one of the boss fights, no matter how many times I dodged, I never got up quick enough. The response time between me clicking the button to dodge and then trying to click it again was way too long. The animation for the dodging should be slower, or as soon as you press dodge, you should just keep dodging over and over again, not wait until the animation finishes. That's the best way I think that could have been approached. So, as you can tell, I was very disappointed with the controls for this game, so I'm going to give the controls a 1 star. The graphics is somewhere I'm actually going to cut some corners in order to give it a good rating, just so you know. A lot of people will say the graphics aren't really up to scratch, and with that I kind of disagree. Because in my eyes, what graphics is just if the game looks good. And if you say this game doesn't look good, then I don't know what you're looking at. There are so many good moments where you want to screen capture that. The nighttime looked amazing, the dawn time looked amazing as well. And don't even get me started from when you're flying on your Braviary. That looked impeccable. No pun intended. Yeah, I do see that there are some rendering issues and some frame drops whenever a new Pokemon spawns in that's very far away. But that happens in every single game. Technology hasn't advanced that much where you can do so much. Yeah? And that's why I'm gonna give graphics a 3 stars. I think it was excellent. Now the dialogue in this game. It really irritated me. Some points of the game just had so much dialogue, and I feel like it didn't need that much dialogue. They just kind of overdid it at some points. I'm not saying at all the points, but at some points. But on top of that, I just don't like dialogue in an open world game. I don't like dialogue altogether. If there is dialogue, it should be short and snappy. You quickly see what's going on, they ask you if you understand, and then get away. Just let me do my thing. You don't gotta explain everything to me through dialogue. Let me explore and find things out for myself. So dialogue will be getting 1 star. And finally, the Pokemon. This is a no-brainer. The Pokemon are amazing. There are alpha Pokemon, there are shiny Pokemon, there are bigger Pokemon, there are small Pokemon. There's no way that I'm not going to give this a 3 stars. So let's just do it. 3 stars. Now with previous Pokemon games, I was very defensive no matter how much flaws they had. What I noticed in this game was I am very picky and have such high standards and expectations. For example, a minor thing that I saw in Legends Arceus is when you're receiving an item from someone, the characters just do an awkward exchange of nothing, which just looks lazy to me. In my head, I'm thinking that the character should actually be holding something during the exchange, and once you receive the item, you see what it looks like, as well as the text from the bottom. But Pokemon Sword and Shield did the same thing, and I turned a blind eye towards it. So do I think this game could have been better? Yes. Do I think this is the best game I've played on the Switch? Also yes. I mean, out of 30 total stars, this game got 22. If I simplify that even further, that's 11 out of 15. 73% some might say. In the end of the day, get this game. It's amazing.